Let's meet the competitors for your women's Grand Prix lightweight third place match with a 10-minute time limit. Training out of San Diego, California, and representing Atos, Luiza, Monteiro.
Luiza Monteiro makes a return to the mats here, looking for the third place finish of the women's GP. Had a very tough match against Shanaida Lepre, and looking to get some redemption here against Mayssa Bastos.
Yeah, Luiza Monteiro, we didn't mention it earlier, but IBJJF first place at the Pan Championship 2011, 13, 14, 16, 18, 19, 20, and 21. So many titles.
Wow. Don't hear that very often.
Training out of New York, New York, and representing Unity, Mayssa Bastos.
Mayssa Bastos representing Unity Jiu-Jitsu, one of the greatest guard players in the female division, makes a return, looking to take on Luiza Monteiro. Don't recall ever seeing this match. Do you, Jake Watson? Do you, Kendall?
This is a match that we have never seen before, and Luiza Monteiro said multiple times yesterday this is a match that she would love to see herself in. She said she wanted a first rounder. It was something she expected to see, so now we get it here in our third place match.
Yeah, here's the tail of the tape. 25 years old, Mayssa Bastos. 33 years old for Luiza Monteiro. Once again, a little bit of a height advantage for Luiza Monteiro, and a weight discrepancy there, but Mayssa Bastos not afraid of any challenge. Let's get this thing going. Referee Damien Orlando gets things on schedule and a double pull. This time Mayssa getting the benefit of the double pull. We saw in her match earlier with Ana Rodriguez, she was not pulling first, but now on her back in a position I'm sure she would rather find herself.
Luiza, with a little bit of multi-directional passing, now stuck back inside the guard of Mayssa Bastos.
I think what we're seeing with Luiza here is definitely a patient start.
Yeah.
Right? She's not coming out explosive or making unnecessary movements, and she's not really trying to bulldoze through Mayssa's guard. I think a lot of times Mayssa's competitors come at her and throw a lot at once and get tired, because Mayssa has got to be used to that in training, right? She's got to be one of the smaller people in the room. So I think there's a very smart strategy by Luiza to come and maybe use a little bit of that strength, that weight advantage, to wear down the guard of Mayssa. A hard thing to do, but you know, something to look to if you're looking for strategies to beat a world champion like Mayssa. So using a little bit more patience, dropping the knee down on the inside knee crease of Mayssa, opening that guard, maybe elevating the hips. I think that's what we're going to look to see.
Luiza Monteiro up by one advantage so far against Mayssa Bastos here. The first ever women's IBJJF flow grab. Beautiful leg shuck right to the back. Luiza Monteiro gets to the back position of Mayssa Bastos. Mayssa doing a great job of escaping there.
Beautiful recovery there from Mayssa. Doesn't seem that there's an advantage on the board yet, so it wasn't quite enough to score for Luiza, but mentally a very big moment to put Mayssa's guard on notice, and also to give Luiza the confidence. We talk a lot about pattern building with competitors. When you have two very high level people going together, a lot of the time you will see the similar sequence happen back to back, with a little bit of an edge moving towards one competitor over the other in creating their ability to score as they learn and test their opponent, especially with people who don't compete against each other often, or haven't competed against each other before. So what we could see is a confidence boost here with Luiza, and maybe a similar attempt to pass in the future. And if that being said, that could lead to either her creating the edge and getting a score from it, or Mayssa being a little more wise to it and being able to counter sooner.
Kendall Rusing, such a knowledgeable competitor, knowing a lot of the different matchups in the women's divisions. What do you think are some of, for the people looking at home, what are some of the main weapons that we should be on the lookout for with these two competitors?
Well, I think that the main weapon to look at from here with Luiza is going to be to just what we saw a moment ago, to be able to get Mayssa's legs to the side and start to look for back exposure, because Mayssa will not give up side control. She'll probably turtle just like we saw a moment ago. Or if she gets swept like we saw a minute ago, she could enter the legs. Luiza has some of the most devastating leg attacks in Jiu-Jitsu that we see consistently over and over on multiple size opponents. She has won major titles all the way from light to middle up to medium heavy, right? So she uses big leg attacks on large opponents. I wouldn't be surprised if that could be something that she could get off of Mayssa. However, Mayssa, while I don't know if passing is going to be the best strategy for someone like Luiza, who is much larger, creating back exposure, I believe, will be, and that's such a big part of her game.
We'll see if either of these competitors are able to get those weapons going with 6 minutes, 30 seconds left in the match. Only a slight lead for Luiza Monteiro here, one advantage. It's a very interesting set of grips that Mayssa continues to throw as well. Not quite on the end of the sleeve, but more on like the forearm of the gi.
I would imagine someone of a little bit smaller stature probably has to become accustomed to grabbing a little bit higher on the arm, because there's so much space between her and the opponent, and she has the shorter limb, right? So in order to get that compressed posture that a lot of times guard players look for, she's going to have to grab higher on the sleeve or higher on the collar in order to break the posture down on Luiza.
Mayssa Bastos now underneath the hips of Luiza Monteiro. One of the things that really impresses me most about Mayssa is her ability to switch guard from left to right so fluidly, just so slick. And she just did that, about a minute ago. Now looking to get a sweep, has the single leg, controlling the leg, now switching to 50-50. Just constantly, she's constantly making small movements, but switching attacks. And it seems to be frustrating Luiza just a little bit here.
I think this is the most dominant position we've seen from Mayssa. We noticed that her right foot and her left foot are both staying pretty attached to Luiza's body and able to keep that extension, but she switches from a pant grip to putting the foot on top of the shoulder, using that bottom leg to extend and manage the distance between her and Luiza, and that could allow her to come up and create a sweep position or a flurry to a back clinch.
Both of these ladies are two-time black belt world champions. Something that really speaks out. As I say that, Mayssa Bastos creating what looks like an opportunity here. But as I was saying, it's just such a nod to the quality of competitors that we have in this Grand Prix. The first ever female Grand Prix in IBJJF history. And it really is the top of the top here in the bracket. We're having world champions go against each other. It's really special.
Yeah, Mayssa had a quick look at the back there for just a moment, but then very intelligently pulled right back to the guard when she realized that it wasn't going to be a scoring position for her, and gave her time to sit back down and avoid that advantage position that we saw earlier when Luiza double pulled and came up, which is the reason why she's in the lead now, because they are 2-2.
4 minutes, 30 seconds left in this match. Luiza Monteiro on the top of Mayssa Bastos, looking to pass. Luiza up by one advantage. Mayssa underhooking that right leg of Luiza. Again, look at how she constantly transitions, changes grips, changes position, changes angles. Mayssa just so active on the bottom. Obviously the smaller competitor here, but has not stopped moving constantly. Look at it now, trying to off-balance Luiza one more time here.
Again, like you said, Ricardo, most competitors are not able to so fluidly switch between left and right side guards. And I think that when you have a passer that primarily passes to one side, then that can be extremely devastating, kind of break down their game, and so it puts you a little bit on the front mentally. So she's been consistently able now to get to this position where she has Luiza's right leg stacked up on top of her shoulder. Now, what she's having a hard time doing, it seems, is continuing to elevate that up and put Luiza down, because Luiza has a very strong base and a very strong balance on her left leg. So we consistently see this position happen again, where Luiza goes down to her left knee, or she even stands all the way up, where she has like a splits position. And again, similar to earlier, Mayssa is going to use that. Instead of trying to sweep, she's going to look to the back.
Oh, trying to throw that butterfly hook underneath and expose the back here. But one thing I'm noticing from Luiza Monteiro is the free leg of Mayssa Bastos is consistently being dealt with. She's in the De La Riva. Her right leg is usually wrapped up in the De La Riva by Mayssa Bastos, but that free leg is being pushed to the other side, or it's being jammed in between the legs. Luiza always has something going on with that leg, and now she finds herself kind of free from that position, threatening what looks like it could be a leg weave pass or a stack pass.
Yeah, if she can bring that top leg over, she can look for like a leg drag. She can also find back exposure here if she were to switch her left leg over, which would be where her right leg is. A lot of options, but to deal with a flexible guard like Mayssa's, we do see opponents looking for that stack position just like Luiza was. So that is a very, very smart move by Luiza, but we can tell Mayssa very comfortable in that position. Very quickly recovers back to her favorite position here, playing open guard.
And I think it's just a smart strategy overall. I think Mayssa is, you know, as you mentioned, trying to get the leg over the shoulder, just not able to have the physicality to complete a sweep that way, so she's opting to go to the back instead, trying to use her you know, the fact that she's smaller to try to get under and behind Luiza, but it's just unable to secure that as well. So it's got to be frustrating for Mayssa at the bottom. And, you know, although she's doing a great job of maintaining the position and switching guards, she's just not able to kind of finalize any attack at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Luiza has devastating passing. We've seen it time and time again. She is able to smash through people's guards. And now, I mean, this is a big thing to ask for with someone as astute as Mayssa. I don't even remember the last time I saw her guard completely passed, right? It's very rare we see that happen. But what Luiza does in her attempts to pass is she also stays very, very safe and solid. Her base is incredible. We see her doing the splits. We see her popping back up to her feet if she feels her back is exposed. And we consistently see her adjusting her grips to make sure that her posture is not being broken down over and over by Mayssa.
And it's that kind of guard passing security that is going to really make it difficult with 1 minute left here. We're going to see if Mayssa Bastos is able to create one more back exposure. She really has done a great job of exposing the back. It looks like she's just right there to potentially get a solid attack going. But with 50 seconds left now, will she be able to create one more opening, or will Luiza Monteiro ride this advantage?
And I love that we're seeing Luiza continue to chase the pass, continue to work for the attack. She has a very narrow lead, so with 39 seconds left, Mayssa still has it in her to look for the win in this match. It's a very narrow lead.
Less than 30 seconds to go. Luiza on the attack. Gets her knee in the middle there, and it's just, yeah, it's just been such a gritty match. You know, props to Mayssa Bastos just for constantly trying to work from the bottom position to, you know, to off-balance Luiza Monteiro, which has not been easy. But Luiza, as you mentioned, just has awesome passing attempts. She used that single-hand leg drag, you know, to get partial passing earlier. But Mayssa's guard just so flexible. She recovered so well.
And we
very, very, very technical.
Very technical. And what we saw there on the end was so smart, because Luiza almost ended up in like a diving knee cut. And we saw very quickly on the edge of the mat, Mayssa throw her leg over back into that like loose lasso position. So again, we don't see Mayssa's guard pass very often for a reason. So if you're thinking about your guard retention, she is definitely someone to study.
5 seconds left in this match, and I think it's safe to say Luiza Monteiro wins by advantage and will get third place in the first ever IBJJF FLO Grappling Grand Prix here live in Austin, Texas. Jake Watson, very technical matchup.
You know what? Props to Mayssa Bastos taking on another undertaking, really coming in 20 pounds under the rest of the competitors, but still putting up such a game fight, keeping every match so close. This really has been the best of the best. What a show. Now we move on